The condition is really crazy condition.
I mean, that shouldn't give away the whole secret to professional windsurfing.
Matteo Iachino giving Antoine Albo a run for his money. Here we go. What a finish.
The guy is kind of talking bullshit.
The team's just got to work a little harder.
Welcome to the Windsurfing podcast, back again for episode 65. And this guy, well, he's been around a bit. He has done all disciplines, grew up in the UK. He spent a lot of time in Lanzarote, and then the big move for him was the Ocean Academy, run by Levi Siver's parents in Maui. Since then, he has gone from strength to strength. We've seen him push on in the waves. He's made podiums, I think maybe even won events in freestyle. He was up there when we first started Super X before doing a little bit of slalom. We've got to talk about a lot of stuff, but we've got to talk about his long-term relationship with Neil Pride and JP. He's also been a key person in the merger between the IWT and PWA. We talk about learning moves. We talk about parties. We talk about going pro. We also probably touch on the fact that he was named after one of the most famous windsurfers on the planet, Robby Nash. Who is it? Well, it is, of course, Robby Swift.
Swifty, how you doing?
Magic, nice to see you finally. We've been trying to line this up for a couple of weeks now.
2 years, yeah. You've been avoiding me.
Yeah.
Now,
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Looks like you're in quite a nice sunny beach there in South Africa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm actually in Poland. It's been
you're in
snowing.
Poland.
It's like 10 degrees and it's snowing, so it all melts nicely and you have a few nice paddles.
Just what you want.
Around and yeah, exactly. Hey, so you hit the gym this morning.
Yeah.
I heard.
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Not to be a dick straight away.
Yeah.
But just asking for a friend.
Mm-hmm.
At 39, do you have to do more or?
Oh, I'm 38. I'm not 39 yet, Magic. Give me a couple more. Another year. Do I have to do more? I mean, I have to stretch more. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I have to.
You
I didn't.
You can just back on what you've done for the last 20 years. Because that's my friend's hope, the one I'm asking for.
I mean, I never really stopped doing stuff. So I'm like exactly the same as I always have been. But I definitely feel like I have to stretch and roll in the evenings. Otherwise, in the mornings, it's kind of painful, especially with my foot injuries, my foot surgeries and stuff. But yeah. No, I don't feel. I mean, I it's not like I ever like stopped doing stuff. So I feel I'm just as fit as I was when I was 23 for sure.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen this your office more than my own bedroom recently because we've been doing quite a few Zooms. We're on the management board, PWA management board now together, and you've had by the time this podcast, it's safe to talk about it because by the time this podcast airs, it's going to be announced. Mm-hmm. You've basically managed to get the PWA and the IWT together and form a pretty sick tour. I would love to take all the credit, but I have to give a lot to you. How did this kind of come about? Because it's been something that's been, kind of floated around for years now, and obviously something good for the sport. But then the little British guy came in and just got it done.
Yeah, it's not something that I think have been against. I think everybody's been kind of for it, and I think things needed to happen. Obviously, I put in a lot of work trying to make it happen this year, but that's because I see it like being at a point now where it is, kind of integratable. It's the IWT have built up a much stronger tour with better standards. They started in a place where they started, and they gradually went through increasing. The professionality of how things were done and understands for the riders, and which was always their plan. I don't think it ever was not their plan. And now they came to a point where they really wanted to be and deserve to be considered as part of the world tour. Like they had a really solid, strong run of events this last year, and now they've got better standards for next year, and the major events of theirs, have stepped up with better sponsors and better standards for the riders, and I think that wave riding side of windsurfing has been lacking in the world tour kind of scenarios for many years, and everybody's known that, everybody's wanted that, but there hasn't really been an option. So I went to Fiji, and there was certain things that could have been a little better, which they all realized as well. Then we had a bunch of conversations. I started in Fiji, talking with Simeon a lot about how we could make it work, and he also came around to a bunch of considerations which he wasn't necessarily open to considering before, or didn't see the merit in before. So now with the Wave Riders Committee, that's been elected by the PWA general group of sailors, we came to Simeon, with all of our positions, and he came with his positions, and we sort of negotiated back and forth and found a middle ground, which I think it's going to be the sailors investing, in the beginning, because obviously we're reducing the standards quite a bit from the sailors, but it's what the sailors want. We want to have more events, and we want to have a platform, to show all the training that we do in different varied conditions, and around the world too. And I think it's a really positive step for windsurfing in general, because although it's probably going to be tricky in the beginning for the majority of the fleet to go to all the events, there is this big world tour now that you can sell to sponsors, and I think it's much more credible for outside industry sponsors to look at and say,
what are we talking about? Cape Verde?
Cape Verde hopefully is gonna happen in March, and then straight to Japan, which is huge for windsurfing, because Japan it's starboard tack jumping, which is like completely the opposite of what we have done on the world tour for the past 20 years, because we've done a few wave events in Maui, whatever, and Cabo Verde, but never done a starboard tack jump, except for the one event in France, actually. So super cool to have that as, from a competitive standpoint, as a different kind of conditions, but also for the windsurfing brands and the windsurfing world. Japan was a huge market before and kind of petered out, and they have a lot of super motivated and diehard fans in Japan. So I think everybody's going to benefit from that event happening in Japan. And then after Japan, most likely the next one will be Fiji, because they want to move that back in the year to the beginning of the wind window, which will be beginning of June. And then Gran Canaria and Tenerife, which, we all know and love. And then after that, Zilt. And then the last one would be the final in Maui. And the idea is that everybody's going to have to count the final. So that will make that really exciting as well. So I think it's cool. I think it's a super all around tour now. There's 4 more jumping events, but 1 starboard and 3 are port. And then there are 3 pure wave riding events, with 2 being starboard and 1 being port. So it's cool. It's really varied, and it's going to be interesting. This first year, we're probably going to do it that only 4 events have to count, which is not ideal from competition fairness and wanting to get that overall, skill set recognized. But I think since it's so late in the day to announce it, and people's contracts have already been done, it's probably going to be hard to force people to go to too many of those events, although I'm sure a lot of people will go to all of them. But hopefully going forward, we'll end up adding more events to have to count, and maybe make it 5 out of 7, something like that.
So what are you saying? I should sign my 2024 contract now, because all the budget is going to go to the wave guys?
There's going to be no more budget for slalom, mate. No, aren't there going to be a ton of new slalom foil events? No, but I don't think, it's a couple more events. It's like, I think everybody pretty much calculated on 4, and we're only going to have to do 4. I'm sure everybody's going to do more than 4. But, some people probably won't do all 7 of them. But eventually down the line, it would be nice if, people were able to get the support, not just from the industry, but from outside the industry as well, to be able to go to those events. And I think having more events on the calendar and having a more, realistic and solid worldwide tour is going to help people to get outside sponsors.
No, for sure. You got to go to at least 5. I mean, you can't expect to do well everywhere.
Yeah, you're going to go, everybody's going to go to, let's say, 5 of them, but not everybody's probably going to go to 7 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's good. It's perfect.
I can go to Japan with my starboard tack forward and tabletop. That's what
you can do. Whatever. You can go to all of them, actually.
Definitely not. I don't have.
But it's fun. Like I'm already today. It's kind of small and windy-ish, sort of bump and jump. But I'm already like super motivated to go out and train starboard tack jumping now, which I do starboard tack jump all the time because I live here. But I don't like go and specifically train it because we don't have any events like that. You know, I'm actually slightly better at jumping on port tack because I do so much work on it, even though I don't live in a port tack place. But see, it already made me more motivated. So
the left side of your back is going to get the few
the side's going to get a few slaps. Yeah.
just to straighten out the equation.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, but before your back was slapped, before you were a political mogul in the windsurf business, or before you got one of those things that's standing in your background, or a few, you should have a few actually. What happened?
I had a few of them. I lost. No, they're around. Yeah. I just Heidi tied my office for me, and that one's the coolest one.
Threw away your trophies. Yeah.
No, I lost one. Unfortunately, I have 5 of those nice ones, but one of them's missing. I don't know where the other ones are either.
Before all this, you're a little kid in the UK.
Yeah.
And let's clean up some things, because the general or the common knowledge, let's say, Robby had it easy. Because sponsored, started young, sponsored super young, good backing from parents, all that. I mean, I had fantastic. I had really good backing from my parents. Like they supported me a lot all the way through the beginning of my career. I think, my dad used to take me windsurfing whenever he could, which was on, let's say, 2 weekends out of the month, maybe. And then in the summer, we used to go to the Canary Islands for like 6 weeks or 2 months, and we used to windsurf together. And then when I was 12, I went to like a demo day at the Isle of Sheppey, which is close to where I live in England. It's like half an hour, 45 minutes away from my house, and met Chris Martin, actually, who used to be the rep for Neil Pride back then. Yeah, that one. And I did it. I went out on their slalom gear on like a 5.5, and I did a forward loop, and they were like, "Wow, that's cool." Until then, my dad had bought my gear for me. Actually, Dave White from F2 had gave him like a 25% discount since I was really little, because I sent them a video when I was like 5 saying that I wanted to be world champion, and he thought that was cool. So he helped me with that in the beginning. But when I went to that demo day, I did that forward loop on the 5.5, like whatever it was, a BX3 or something back in those days. They said, okay, we'll lend you a few things and give you some free wetsuits and stuff. And then I did the UK circuit from then on. And I think I was maybe British racing champion. I'm not sure what kind of racing it was then, but when I was 15. So then I got a little bit more support. Like with everybody? Like with
everybody, exactly. Yeah, Open. Yeah, of 16. Something like that. And then I got a bit more support from them. And when I was 17, I believe, I went to an event in, actually, no, it wasn't. It was when I was 15. It wasn't 17. So when I was 15, there was a European race called the Super 8, which is like a European slalom race. And
I was there, believe it or not.
You were there.
I wanted to ask you whether, because
that was my break.
You came, like your dad put the flags, like, on the beach trailer or whatever it was, full of gear. And then you just demolished that event. And I think the main prize was like a year in the Oceans Academy or something.
No, well,
right?
so what it was that there was a 15, 16-year-old category, and there was a 17, 18-year-old category. And I was only 15, I think. And I didn't want to do that 15 one because I wanted to get that main prize, which was 3 months in the Mary Ocean Academy, all expenses paid. And so I did the English one, and I qualified for the older group. And then I did the France, the one in France. So, you had to win the English one to go to France.
Yeah, it was in Freestyle. It was in
I did that Freestyle one,
one of the paddles in one of the lakes. Yeah,
exactly. And I remember I had a AHD, can't remember exactly which board it was. And then I had like a board that was like a custom board that I bought off one of the PWA sailors in Paros. I had done a PWA event in Paros. I'd done that one. It was like the IFCA Worlds actually before, and I won IFCA Youth Worlds in slalom and formula. And then we did the PWA. I got like 15th or something in the PWA in Paros. But I bought this board. I can't remember who it was, off a Danish sailor. So I had that board and I was like obsessed with that board. I thought that board was like the best board in the world ever. And I went and I was doing well on it in that final thing in Grisons. And then one of the other kids' dad said it's not fair, you shouldn't be able to use it. So I was like, okay, guess I'll use the HD one. And then I jumped on the HD one. It was like a million times faster than the board that I had. And I was like, I'm glad that you whined about that, because now I'm like feeling super confident. And then, I won all the races in that one. And I got to win that prize, which was the 3 months in the Mario Ocean Academy. And I turned 16 here. I had my 16th birthday here at it was like the Jeep Pro or whatever. There wasn't the Yamaha Classic. And I did that one and I got into that Jeep, it was the April version of the Maui event. I got into it, and then I had Sean Ordonez in my first heat, kicked my butt, so I got out. Yeah. But I got into the PWA. I was pretty stoked, but that was a big break.
Trials, I mean, you got in, like, you got a wild card.
I did the trials, exactly. I did the trials, and I got through the trials, and then I got Sean Ordonez in my first heat, and I got beaten. But I was stoked with that anyway, and I'd had because of that event, I was getting gear lent to me before. But because of that event in Grisons, Oxbow they were the sponsor, and they gave me a really good contract, Oxbow England, that was like, was my first paid money contract, which I was super stoked with in clothes. And then Neil Pride and JP the next year gave me my international contract, which was just money to go to events, so like a certain amount of money for each event. But it was super cool because that meant that I could go to all the freestyle. Then I started wanting to do freestyle instead of racing. And then I got into Fuerteventura. I got second the first year I did Fuerteventura, I think. And then I won the second year that I did Fuerteventura. And I got fifth or fourth in the waves in Pozo that year as well. So then I got a good contract after that. But it wasn't like it was easy. Like, my dad took me to some events and stuff. But as soon as we had a contract, it's funny with my dad. I had a contract with my dad that I had to sign the contract with my dad that I wasn't allowed to party and stuff at events, but also that he would support me until I left school. And as soon as I left school, that was it. Not one penny more, like not even picking up from the airport. That was a business expense, and that had to come out of the the sponsorship. And he helped me a lot with my getting sponsors and, negotiating contracts and stuff for me, and also managing, not letting me spend all my money that I was getting paid and he helped me to, do investments with it and stuff. So he was super helpful, but he was also pretty harsh with me. I also had to, I had to pay rent at my house here, their house here in Maui, as soon as I left school. Like, he was totally up for me staying at university as long as I wanted to, and he'd pay for me. But if I left and tried to be a pro windsurfer, then that was the deal, that I had to, pay my way, which was a good lesson in life in the end.
Yeah, exactly the same deal I had. I didn't have to pay rent though at the house. Maybe because it was in Poland, not in Maui. But,
well, I don't think that I would have had to if I'd stayed in England, but this house was like in Maui, so it was quite fair, I think.
Yeah. But we'll get to you breaking that party contract soon. But
yeah, no, I did break the party contract. That's true. Yeah. I forgot about that.
So Oceans Academy, you arrived there.
Yeah.
And like, what is it, like a dorm? Like I don't know, you go. Do you even you study, but it's not.
It's funny. It's still a school actually. Now it's a private school called Roots in Haiku, and I drive past it all the time, and I have such good memories of that place. It was basically Levi's parents wanted to be able to. Levi and Luke Siver's parents wanted to be able to homeschool them and bring them. They moved from Oregon over to Maui, and they wanted to be able to homeschool them, but not like just totally themselves homeschool them. So they had this idea that they set up this school with teachers, so their kids would have a proper education, but homeschooled, which wasn't really a thing back then. And like to kind of fund it and to make it work for them, they invited other like-minded parents to, send their children there. And Levi and Luke's mum and dad took care of us. And there was a kitchen, and actually had a padlock on the fridge, because you can imagine what it was like with all of us 18-year-old kids coming in and out of that kitchen all the time. But it was, did like a giant Costco run and bought all the food and stuff for the week, and they cooked dinner for us and breakfast and stuff. And then we had a classroom there, and the teacher would basically, I didn't do the school from there. I did my English school by correspondence, so I wasn't in that classroom. I didn't actually do what they were doing. So I'm not sure exactly what it was they were doing, but it was 8 in the morning until 12. And then it was
Posh
6 p.m. until 8.
British kid, huh? Didn't want to do the...
Well, that was part of my contract. My dad, I had to be getting the grades I had to be getting from my English school. So I could leave and do my English school. It was only for 3 months. It was only like, I did it for 3 months, January, February, March, for 3 years in a row. So I had to go back to school and be at the same level that I was when I left. But it was good because I was doing A-levels and it was Spanish, French and business studies. And my roommates were Alex Mussolini and Baptiste Gossin. So we were speaking Spanish and French, and it was kind of like a French or a Spanish exchange in the end.
Yeah, which is pretty good. 2 roommates too.
Yeah, and we had a van. There was a Hukipa van and a Kanaha van, and like depending on the day, like how big it was, how windy it was, whatever, you had to choose which van you're going to jump into at lunchtime. It was a pretty fantastic experience to do that. And yeah, the first year was paid by the what's it called, the Super 8 final thing.
Yeah, insane. That's crazy.
That was like, it was like my dream, my goal. And like, I wasn't even supposed to be allowed to do that age group. And then they were like trying to protest and not let me do it. And I was like so stressed out at the beach there. Like I'd always wanted to go to that thing. And I couldn't even believe there was a contest where the prize was that. And then I was there and they didn't want to let me do it because I was too young. And I was like, please. And then they did. And then it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. So fast forward, you're like 17, 18, like you said, 2002, no? First year on tour.
2001.
2001, yeah. So what was like your impression? Because by then you're in Maui, you kind of, you go to Hokipa a bit, you meet the guys, you mentioned you've done Paros, you did the Jeep spring events in Hokipa and stuff. But
yeah,
you go
I did
to
Ireland.
First time you go to,
Yeah, no, I mean, first time it was super rad. I remember putting on the stickers, like the PLA stickers and stuff, and being like all like super stoked putting those stickers on and just going and meeting all the guys, and was kind of nervous and be there at all the briefings and listening to I'd done a lot of races, a lot of national, local and European races, but it was like a bigger level, and it was all the superstars that I'd been watching growing up were there, and luckily a bunch of them were like became my really close friends. Like right initially, the very first people when I was very first on Maui, Josh Stone took really good care of me, and I even to the King of the Lake events, I think him and his wife Amy would drive me around and stuff, and I stayed after the Ocean Academy. I stayed with them the next year in Maui, so I was really close with them. And Jason Polico was really a good friend of mine as well. We met that first year that I was at the Ocean Academy. I remember I was sponsored by him and I was chatting to him on the beach. Then I went back to his house with him and Nick Baker and Ant Baker, and he gave me the very first copy of the Jason Polico, the second movie that he made, and I took it back to the Ocean Academy with Alex and Baptiste, and we all just sat there and probably watched it like 5,000 times, I guess, until the tape broke. Yeah. But we just watched it over and over. It was like, it was a pretty cool moment to be. We had that video. We were the first ones that ever saw it. It was
still a good video till this day. Still
a fantastic video.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Definitely there.
So yeah, it was cool. I was traveling around with all those guys, and they were sort of friends and mentors, and we were traveling together and
but
going
there
and
was
staying in the hotels.
That group of, let's say, like Josh Stone, Matt Pritchard, Robbie Seeger, those guys that were kind of dominating in freestyle. And then I guess around your time, quite a few of you guys, like the new generation, came in, right? That's by year 2 or whatever, you were just smoking them.
Yeah.
Or year 3.
Yeah,
so how did that?
I mean, it was cool. It was fun. We were just practicing and training. It was Cauli and Ricardo and me in Brasilia. It was like a couple of years later in Brasilia, but he was there like pretty much since he was 12 or 13 even. So we were all, going practicing together and doing well. And it was good. Freestyle was an easier, sort of stepping stone into it than waves, because waves you need so much experience and wave knowledge, and you might be able to do the tricks but maybe you don't know how to do them in the time. And freestyle is more like you go out there and you just go and just bang it out what you've been practicing. So it was definitely an easier stepping stone in. And then back then the prize money actually at freestyle was really good, so even though we weren't necessarily getting paid as much as other guys, we were getting pretty good prize money, because I think it was back then it was 55,000 euros, and freestyle was the only one that was only split between the top 16. So actually you get a lot when you were in the top 5 or whatever. So each event that we'd go to you'd be making a bit of money too. So it was like fun.
10,
it was
10 grand for a win or something.
First place was 10,600 euros, which was like $16,000 at that point. Yeah.
Because that's the little bit the sentiment now. Like, oh, back then it was so much bigger and stuff. But actually,
it was. But then for us at that time, then back then was so much bigger. You know what I mean? Like, it was way bigger before. So it's been gradually going down. And that's what we're kind of hopefully trying to somewhat change now, like by just getting more events and getting them in cooler places and getting a better image out of stuff. And, well, we'll see what's going to happen. We don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely the level of sailing now and the level of professionalism, it's so much higher. There's a friend of mine here in Maui who used to compete. You wouldn't know him, but he used to compete windsurfing, and he's like, man, I see you guys, I feel so bad. He's a real estate guy now. He's like, I feel so bad because we used to just be so lazy and not train and so useless and just drink all the time, and like everybody was like throwing like 100 grand at us here and there. And he's like, and I see you guys, you're so dedicated and train so hard and good with the social media and all this stuff. And it's just so difficult to get anywhere. And it's true, but it's the reality that we live in now.
Together, right? It's counter, how you say, like, the more the money drops, the more you have to be.
The more you have to try. But then at the same time, it's kind of good. It teaches you to be a professional person that does things in a structured way and produces content and stuff. And then you might find, even if it doesn't work out in windsurfing, you might find another niche for yourself in some other way. I don't think getting money thrown at you is necessarily a great thing, although it's fun. I think having to work for it and be professional is probably a good life lesson as well. And I'm sure that it'll come back. I don't think windsurfing's dead at all. I think it's super cool. People will see it and they're really impressed by it always. Just needs to be sold in the right way.
Yeah. Just need to get out of the bubble a little bit. But yeah, definitely Swiss Army knife is needed these days.
Yeah.
To do whatever.
It's true. But then, in most things, like, what are you going to do? Most jobs, I mean, you either have to go to university for many, many years and study and then you spend a big part of your life doing that, or you're working in a trade or something. There's nothing easy.
Yeah. Speaking of professionalism, 17, 16, 17-year-olds, bunch of guys, like you mentioned, Kali's about your age, I guess. Ricardo, younger, a little bit.
Kali's a little bit older. Ricardo's one year younger, yeah.
Bunch of more
like
Brazilians and, bunch of guys. There must be, like you say, you win 10 grand, you get that check last night, and you're like, what should I spend it on? And there's a tent in Fuerte with 5,000 people in it or whatever the hell it fits. And you've just been on stage, you're like the superstar of the thing and whatever. A little bit of temptation for a young...
sure. But I mean, you can't spend that much.
Especially British, I would say.
You don't get your prize money in cash on the stage in the tent, luckily. Otherwise, it'd probably go quite quickly, yeah. But I mean, that was fun, yeah, for sure. Those years in Fuerte, being on the podium a bunch of years were cool. It was fun.
Yeah. I know we have wife and kids now, so you can't really give me what I want, but
I'm not going to give you what I want. But the fun thing about that is also that, like, you go, it's super fun. You're with all your friends. It's really, really rad. It's an amazing moment in your life that you like. It's really difficult to replicate that in any other way. In fact, I think it's probably impossible to replicate that kind of thing. You just won an actual world title, which is even better. But there's no way you're ever going to get that feeling from anything else. And it's with all your closest friends that are also your closest rivals. So it's nice, and it's something that no one can ever take away from you either, And then, you go out party and have fun with your friends. And the next day you start thinking about how to get that feeling again. So you don't want to go out and just waste your life drinking or doing whatever, because, you've got a goal and a motivation. So that's what the cool thing about sports is. You get your moment, and then the next morning it's gone again already, and you want to go get it again.
It's true.
Yeah. So
give me one story though. Come on. It doesn't have to be.
I'm not going to give him some. I can't remember any stories. They're all gone.
Yes, you do.
I can't. It's been a long time. All I do is work all day. I just like forgot about all that fun stuff that we used to do. No, I really can't remember any.
Okay, you just.
If I think of one, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. But I can't.
You just nod your head or turn your head. Did you or did you not ride up and down in an elevator full of plants in the Meliagoriones naked?
I might have done that. That's true. I'd forgotten about that, but no, I don't think I was naked though. I was in the thing full of plants, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't naked.
What? Like, how did you even come up with that?
Ricardo might have embellished that. I'm not sure why they were going up and down that thing, and with all the plants inside it. But it was fun.
Did you or did you not use NO explode as your downer for, or like how you say, like you have a shot and then you need to, like, you use juice normally, or
I don't know what NO explode is.
What do you mean you don't know? It's the pre-workout thing.
I know, but I've never used it. I don't even know. I never even heard of it actually. NO explode. That must be someone else. We used to have a thing that was something else, but I never had it to go partying because it's got loads of caffeine and it doesn't let you go to sleep. It wasn't NO explode though. You know what it was? The thing that we all used to have, but it's not. I don't know what NO explode is. It was like an orange
something
drink.
Like that. Yeah, maybe I missed.
Yeah. But no, I didn't used to take that to go out. No. I think Peter Bollwater might have done that.
Yeah. Maybe
that was him. Yeah. No, I definitely didn't do that. No, we used to drink like Red Bull vodka and I think now I see people drinking like vodka Sprites. And I remember we used to go to the pit and, you order like 10 and then they give you 20. You know how that works down there in the Canary Islands. But now I see people drinking that, like, I haven't drunk anything like that for a long, long time. But when you're young, it's fun, man. It was cool. They were fun. Lots of fun years.
Yeah, and you used to get up and be able to go sail in the morning. Yeah. Well, now it's unachievable somehow. The very first time that I broke my foot, like we had been out the night before and I broke my foot toe surfing and that was when I was only like 22 or something. So after that, I never wanted to go out sailing again when I had a hangover. So it's been a long time since I've done that. And now I just like avoid the water if I'm hungover. Well, now I don't get hangovers anymore. I've got kids. So that's a very good anti-drinking mechanism. Did you or did you not target the biggest slalom guy in the room and try to wrestle him every single time?
I did many times wrestle that man. Yes. or generally annoy him. I used to like to annoy whoever is the easiest annoyable person, and it happened to be the biggest slalom guy in the room at all the slalom events.
I didn't mean like a particular person. I just...
it was always the same person. It was always the same person.
Who happens to be my boss, I guess.
I think he does happen to be a boss. I think he'd have many fun memories about it now as well.
Yeah, I need to ask him. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we had a lot of fun. It was cool. It was a very nice group of people, and all very similar minded. So like all kind of silly in the moment and all very sensible and professional in the other moment. And it was a good balance.
Yeah. Who'd come out on top though? Did you beat him every time?
Between me and Finian, yeah, I would. I was pretty strong and fast. It was too slow.
Okay, back to windsurfing. You win on your third try, right?
In Fuerte, yeah.
All three. Yeah. And that puts you first on the ranking, right?
We were equal first, me and Ricardo. We had a first and a fifth each.
Yeah. So what happened then?
And then, unfortunately, I lived in Maui and he lived in Venezuela, and he went to Maui to go train for Bonaire. And I was like, that's dumb. I'm going to go to Bonaire. And I went for a whole month to Bonaire to go training before Bonaire. That was a final. And then I think I went sailing once on the 6.5 in the entire month. So, I did the right thing. It's not like I had the money to like go flying back and forth on forecasts. In my mind, I did the right thing going there, but he went to Maui and sailed every single day training, flatwater freestyle, him and Cowley, and then they both did really well in Bonaire, and I didn't do as well. So I went down to third, which was pretty gutting at the time. Like I really was willing to put the effort in and did. put the effort in by going to Bonaire, but I couldn't go sailing. There was no wind. And that was basically what happened there. You know, like training is training. If you don't spend hours on the water, you're not going to learn those new tricks. That was right when there was the switch stance chachos and switch stance, like e-sliders, whatever they were called, those kind of things coming out. And like we were all practicing them and shakas and shove-it spots. That was what made me win Fuerte. So we'd all been practicing there in Fuerte, and then went back to Maui. And then those guys stayed in Maui, and I went to Bonaire early to go train. And there wasn't any wind for a whole month. That was pretty unfortunate.
Yeah. So it's not like so it's not what they say that Ricardo was just unbeatable.
He was unbeatable. Ricardo is unbelievably talented. Like I'm not saying I would have beaten him if I'd have been able to go train there. He was incredibly amazingly good, and still is incredibly amazingly good. Like you see, he sails a lot less than most of the other people because he goes home and just chills out for long periods of time when other people don't. But he's so good, he just comes back and just kicks everyone's butts. I remember I went to Gran Canaria. Maybe I always go super early, so I was there like 6 weeks before, and he came maybe 3 weeks before the event. And I'd been sailing there for 3 weeks, was feeling pretty good. And the day that he got there, it was mega windy. Like I was on 3-3, really overpowered, having a really hard time sailing. And he was on, I think he was on 0.7 and Patrick at that point. So he came like on the day that he arrived, which I don't even go sailing on the day that I arrive off the plane because I don't want to get injured. And he got there like, as I was coming in, I was walking up the rocks, like just barely able to walk up the rocks with this 3-3. And he's walking down. I think he had a 4-2 or 4. I can't remember what, one of those two ridiculous sails. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, just, you're not even going to be able to do anything. He's like, I just want to go sailing. I haven't been in the water for like 2 or 3 months or something. He's been in Venezuela and he's all pumped to go sailing. And I was like, man, you're not going to be able to sail on whatever that was, a 4. I think it was a 4. I don't think it was a 4-2. And he went out and probably like 20 meters off the beach, did just like a triple mast high, stall double forward, first run, bash straight onto his back, and then he came back and he's like, my back, like hadn't stretched, hadn't warmed up, hadn't even been sailing for 2 months. That was the very first thing that he did, and like it was just crazy. And then he was like rolled around on the rocks for a bit, kind of half stretching, and he was like, I think I'm okay again, and went back out. And I was just like, wow, he's really good. He's really, really good. Yeah, he's talented, super talented.
Yeah.
I think raw talent wise, I would honestly say he's the most talented windsurfer that there is.
Yeah, there's a few candidates, but definitely, could be.
The other ones that you look at sail a lot more.
Yeah, but it's also like a scare. This is a good topic to pick your brain. Like how much of it is actual like feeling of your body, spatial awareness or whatever, and how much is it just overcoming fear, because
I don't think that you can overcome fear without having that spatial awareness, like that you're just an idiot if you like. He's not an idiot at all. You can't say that he's super ballsy because he's a nutcase. He's not. He knows exactly where he is. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's really good technique, knows when to let go. There's certain things that he does maybe that are like ballsy beyond like the triple forwards and stuff, but most of his sailing is just him doing his controlled stuff that he knows how to do. He's really, really good and really aware of everything. So you think it's scary, but for him that's just what it is, I don't think there are many people that go super far outside their
comfort zone.
Not just a comfort zone, but their own knowledge of their own skills, not in that kind of, because it's stupid. Otherwise you're just being dumb. And that's,
I don't know. Like, I was just in South Africa. I was trying to learn stuff. Obviously, I'm not a pro wave sailor. I'm far from it. But I think, and my spatial awareness is nowhere near you guys for sure. But the psychological stuff, I mean, I can imagine, like, I don't know, I need to slap my back to see that it doesn't hurt that bad and I can go higher and slap it even harder, or try something and let go in the air, and then the second time I kind of feel a bit more comfortable and pull it and whatever. But it seems like a guy like Ricardo just doesn't have that. Like you say, he just goes out, does a thing that he didn't do for months. Okay, he's done quite a few of them in the past.
It's quite a difference though, like once you've done it a lot of time, once you've done it a couple of times, you really you have the feeling for it. You know, like I remember there's some moves that you get and it's kind of easy, and then there's some moves that take you forever to learn. And the flacker for me, it took me so long to learn the flacker, and I was so scared of it. And I can do them like all the time with my eyes shut on start attack, but I still have this thing in my mind that I can't do them, and I'm scared going into it. You know what I mean? Like there are moves, but still within your boundaries of what you can do. Like I'm really scared of it, but I know I can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like you can do on I don't know, on starboard, but on port, you probably have, if it's windy, you probably have one of the best push forwards, like consistent and stuff. But I doubt you go out and do it off the first ramp, right?
I will if it's the right ramp. For me, my problem, I think, that I have is that I really hate slapping myself so hard, because I've done it so many times that I really get like a sore, like concussion thing in my head really quickly. And then I just don't want to sail anymore. And it takes like a couple of weeks to get over it. So I don't like doing them when I'm low. But if it's high on port or starboard, I really don't care. I'll do it straight away because I know I can do it. You know, it's not like even if I didn't do it for a year, sometimes if I go high and I get in the right position, it's easy, super easy, because I know I can do it because I've been there before. But if I hadn't, until the moment when I did it, it was really, really, really scary. I remember the first one I did in Klitmøller, and it was super scary. And then I did it, and then I was like, oh, actually, it's not that hard. And then even in the first day, I wasn't scared of them anymore once I'd done 10 of them or something. But that was because I was going high and I was in the right position. But if I'm in the wrong position, I just don't do it now. And that's something that, like, if I really wanted to be trying to like win Gran Canaria, you kind of like Ricardo. I remember for 2 years he went, and we were just shaking our heads like, how can he do it, me and Bradinho? Because he just slapped himself, trying to do push forwards really, really low. But that's what you got to do. Until now, he's got such a good technique and he knows where he is in the air. So it's not a scary thing for him anymore because he's done so many of them. You know, like that's the difference. You see it because you don't see him all the time sailing, but when he's actually out there sailing, he tried 1,000 of those little small low push loop forwards to get to where he is now. And that's why he's got that technique and that muscle memory of doing it. And it's the same with everybody that does anything really well, I think.
Yeah.
You know, Barrozinho, you see how many tabletop doubles he did in that heat when they were not scoring him as tabletop doubles in Zilt. He did like 4 tabletop doubles in a row.
Yeah.
And that's because he's done so many stalled doubles and he's confident and he's, you know, feeling like he can do them, and he didn't crash any of them. So it's not a scary thing for him to do.
Yeah, and probably the biggest difference between that and somebody that can do it, like that is a bit scary for somebody, is that he can do it off a ramp that's not perfect.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like you're on a skate ramp that's always the same height, that you're going always the same speed. You've got gusts of wind come from different directions. You've got a chop in front of it. You've got a bit of a steeper wave. It's a bit more onshore, a bit more offshore. There's so many variables with windsurfing, and the only way to get rid of all that is by having done it in all those different things. And so your mind knows where you have to put the sail in a certain, you know, when the wave's a little bit steeper and you're going a little bit faster, or the wind's coming a bit more from behind you because it's more offshore, you know, like, and that's why Brau's so good, because Brau has sailed so much and done all those things in so many different conditions that he has the brain muscle memory of all those different positions and angles and steepnesses of waves. And, you know,
I think it's freestyle somehow as well, you know, because
sure, absolutely, yeah. But that's also because, you know, he used to drive to Marlaya when there's no wind on the North Shore and go sail over there in the flat water, jump off and look at the rocks next to the lighthouse, and he would be sailing and sailing and sailing and sailing and sailing and sailing, and you see this polished result, but it's the result of just thousands of hours of practicing.
Yeah. No, because learning stuff, like, you know, I just had this experience now. I just realized, you know, like every single, like I was trying to learn goiters or air takas or whatever, you know.
Yeah. And
like every time the section kind of launches you a little bit different.
Yeah.
And it's
even when you can do
so
them.
fucked, man. I didn't even come. I was 3 weeks there. Every single day I tried a few until I hurt not hurt myself badly, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just different every time. It's so hard.
I think it's a very complex.
Watching you guys, people underestimate you know, how
the amount of time that you've put in, if you think how many times we go sailing here, I'm sure in the Gran Canaria, the guys do the same thing, but we sail all 5 times a week all year and always trying stuff. It's not like we go around and just sail in and out. It's just trying it and 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 trying it until you can do it. And even when you can do it, like, I think that I can land, in my mind, I would say I could do 80% of goiters, hookeeper. But then there's some days when you don't land any and something's just weird. And like, even though I've done millions of them, they just don't come off, you know, like, so you've got to keep trying it until that weird day you can also do it, you know. But then you start breaking gear and going over the rocks and
the contest always somehow happens in side on shore.
Yeah, you see what happened this year, but you need to see who won because they sail in those conditions, like when everybody else doesn't bother going out and he goes to lanes and just practices anyway. The one who practices the most. Yeah. That's kind of how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah. Back to you. So this freestyle thing, you're doing freestyle, you're doing waves.
Yeah.
And then Super X comes, Supercross.
Yeah. And that was super fun.
And it was like, you kind of had that racing background for so many years and you know, you're fast and Neil Pride got sales straight away, you know, on it, like with everything. I mean, actually Martin Brunner was the one kind of pushing it, wasn't he? To have a discipline, kind of like motocross. So obviously JP is going to have boards and put some stuff, some energy behind it, let's say.
That's the part of my career I wish I could have it back again because it was so easy for me, like, that I just didn't really try that hard. And I should have. Martin was right. He was telling me, like, you need to just train Supercross and you'll win. And I just didn't. I just wanted to go freestyling and doing waves, you know, and that was being young and being stupid, kind of. I wish I would have tried harder at that because that was something that I used to find really, really easy and it was perfectly suited to me.
How would you train? You would like go with a test partner, test gear, like we do in racing, and then just go train the moves,
I would have just because our gear was so fast and so good, but I used to just not sail on that gear until going to the events. You know, if I would have just practiced doing the spots and the forwards and stuff on and starts and things, you know, like remember how hard? Well, you know how hard we trained doing slalom. After that, I did slalom, and I trained so hard on slalom to get like barely like some top 10s, and you know, every now and then maybe a top 6 or 7, whereas Supercross, if I'd have trained that hard, I probably would have won it. You know, that's something that you gain with being older and being wiser. You know, also all my friends weren't really into doing Supercross. You know, like Brow and Ricardo and Cali and those guys didn't really like it. So they were the guys I was hanging around with and sailing, and there wasn't really a person for me to go and practice it with, which is my own dumb fault because I could have gone and practiced with the Pritchards or with Nick Baker or. You know, the Pritchards put in a lot of time and effort and they couldn't barely do spots. And then in the end, Matt ended up winning, you know, but that's my only sort of major regret that I didn't try harder at Supercross because I could have won that one.
Your Lanzarote story though is one of the funniest things I've ever heard. The stage is yours.
So we did. It was actually like a long. You may not even know the whole story. Maybe you do. I'm not sure. But they basically said, I think I'd won or come second in 7 or 8 races, something like that, over the course of the week. And it was going to be the last day, the next day, and it had been super windy. It was sick. We did freestyle before, and then it was like we were on 4 7s racing, super super fun. And then on the last day, the forecast was really terrible. And they basically said in the morning, we're not going to race unless the conditions get good. So they kind of match what we've been doing so far. And then obviously the Pritchards and Nick Baker and all those guys that wanted me not to win or wanted them to win were pushing. And they finally managed to change. I think it was Duncan's mind, whoever's mind it was that they had to change at the time. Maybe it wasn't Duncan. And then they were like, okay, we're going to go and do a race. And I was like, oh, come on, guys. Like, you guys said that we couldn't, you know, like young idiot kids instead of just going out doing it.
Yeah,
just like whining.
Lost right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went, won the first heat, won the quarterfinal, won the semi-final, got into the final. And then in the final, all that had to happen was me not to come last and Matt Pritchard not to win, I think, for me not to win the event. And I was like, well, that's probably I can do that. Anyway, so I have a really good start did my spot, come out planing, jumped over the first thing, miles in front of everybody on my 6.5, which I hated. And was like, yeah, I'm going to beat those guys anyway, even on this big gear that I hate. And I was all stoked and pumped. And then I went around the last duck jive and came in, and there was a tiny little sausage, you know, like the small ones like this big, that I had to jump over before the finish line. And I was like about to celebrate before the sausage. And I was like, don't be an idiot, just unhook and jump over the sausage and then celebrate. And as I did that, like I didn't really unhook properly, and I just like sailed my nose straight into this last sausage and catapulted, and my sail somehow went around and like got stuck by the current like underneath the buoy that holds the end of the last sausage. And then I couldn't get it out. I was just like, and the second person was Matt Pritchard. He was back at the buoy still jibing, and I'm like, well, I've still got time, don't stress out. Just pull the sail out and water start, and whatever, Matt's going to win this final, but you're not going to come last because the other guys are miles away behind. And in the end, I never could get the sail out, and I came last in the final. Matt won, so I got second anyway.
Yeah, which is still good, but it sucks.
No, but it was also the event. That was the event where Andy Funnell was one of my best friends, and he'd passed away right before, and I was really hoping to win the event for him, and I was like broken after that. I was gutted. I was super like down. I was like, the world's against me. But
yeah, well, I know. I know.
You know how that goes sometimes.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty unfortunate moment, like how your sail can get stuck underneath a buoy that you could basically sail into with your eyes shut and get over. Yeah, funny. That was an annoying moment, because that would have been fun to win that one.
Yeah. And then it kind of, I don't know. After those few years, it kind of shrunk. Like
it petered out because people didn't, lots of like Cowley, Ricardo, and those guys didn't want to like saturate the market with all different events, and we kind of had a pull in the direction of going to just freestyle and waves, because otherwise event organizers were having to choose between freestyle, supercross, and waves, and there was like, in the end, it was probably a bad choice, because in the end they just stopped doing events entirely, some of them, instead of, we thought it was going to make them choose between freestyle and supercross. And like places like Costa Brava, that never happened. I don't know, we were trying to do things in the right direction at the time. I think we kind of voted out, not that we didn't offer supercross event organized anymore, it was just kind of pushed more freestyle, and then some of the guys, the young guys that were the top guys, didn't want to go to the supercross events, so then the organizers wouldn't get those guys, and that was kind of how it went.
Maybe we should bring it back.
Maybe it's pretty fun. It's pretty entertaining.
Discipline.
Yeah. You know what was good about it was that you never knew like that until the last second who was going to win. You know, like there was a Spock and a sausage and a forward that could get in your way. And
I really want to put a sausage in Fuerte when we go slalom there. You know,
Fuerte is an exciting place to have a sausage, because you get those swells coming in, and the sausage is sometimes like 6 feet up above you, and you have to turn around and go back and do it again, because like I remember going towards that sausage and it's like up there, and there's no way you're going to do it if you time it wrong.
So then you just jibe, and you can't just fold yourself over it.
No, you have to go over the sausage. So you basically have to turn around, go back, and then come at it again. Yeah, it was funny. Yeah. It was exciting. It was annoying, that sausage sometimes, when they put the big one on the inside.
Now it would be even more fun, because like you have, back then you said, racers can't freestyle. But if I look at it, and you had Matt Pritchard, Antoine Albo, the Musulmanis, Kevin, the Pritchard. I mentioned the Pritchards. Yeah,
it was harder than you think, because
now you like imagine how funny it would be to watch me trying to go around that course.
But also, like you want to go on good fast gear, and it makes it really difficult to do sparks, really difficult. And if you don't, like, that was why I was always good when it was windy. Like, that's why I liked it when it's 4-7 weather, because then you could go on your freestyle sail, and maybe a freestyle wave, and even though you're slightly slower, you can plane out of all the sparks and stuff. And it was cool. It was like made the equipment choice
important.
Important.
Like any racing sport, this is always So basically you voted it out. Fuckers.
It sort of petered out on its own. It wasn't really voted out. It was just
we mentioned pretty much everything. Slalom. Why the fuck would you do slalom?
Martin Radner also asked me to do that. He wanted to like show that smaller people can do well in slalom and sell gear to smaller stuff. And I used to, compete when I was younger, like, and do well in the European stuff and even the youth worlds and whatever, the Espar worlds. Yeah. So it's really difficult with my size to be competitive against the taller guys. Like some events I did okay. Yeah. In Gran Canaria, I was good. In Zilt, actually, funnily enough, I was good because it was wavy and that. But like in any flat water place, it's just really hard. Yeah, really hard.
Miss centimeters.
Yeah. But I'm not unhappy that I did it.
Yeah.
It's it was an experience in training and developing gear and whatever. It was.
Well, Formula, you must regret a little bit though.
I mean, Formula I was actually better at. Yeah. Well, that one event, that was afterwards. But like before, when I used to do the Formula Worlds and stuff, that was kind of why I got recognized by Neil Pride and JP in the beginning, because of winning the Espar Worlds. So I'm not unhappy that I did that. It's all cool. Like, it's all experience. It's all different. It's good to have those experiences.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do what I do now. I love waves. That's always my goal, the thing that I like to do. But I was from England and I never even really wave sailed ever until I was 15, basically. Yeah. So in the beginning, I did those other things.
Yeah. And now you've been at it, 20 years on tour, no? I guess 20, yeah.
I was in out 2000,
if we count out the COVID year, 20 years on tour. Podiums almost everywhere. But still traveling, still competing, still sailing.
Still trying to push to have more events. Like, I still think that this thing that we're doing now is really good because it's going to be cool. Like, I feel like if all the years, if we would have had a varied tour like this, it would have been better for me. Like, I'm not that I'm trying to be selfish or anything. I just think it's good to be able to sail in all different conditions and better for the sport. But so now I'm actually really excited about this year. It's kind of like a new fresh start. And it's going to be cool to have some starboard tack jumping and some hopefully like big wave port tack wave riding in Fiji and stuff. Like, it makes it really exciting and different.
So you got ambitions? You're winning?
Yeah, sure, man. I'd like to. Yeah. Why not?
So Fiji. So what do you think it will take? Like, because people also, I think, underestimate the gear a little bit, the boards. Like, you're going to places that you don't really like. Zilt is this one place where everybody seems to like have a short memory, and everybody comes and like, fuck, my board feels so slow, and then in 12 months pass and it's like,
no, I remember. I just know it does definitely feel slow. I take my 95 and trust the setup, but it still feels pretty slow. But
but what do you think it takes? Like, now it's such a varied tour, and obviously you can't just you can't get like 4 or 5 5th places to win, right? You're not gonna. You have to
especially with the counting small amount of events like this is now. It's going to be, you're going to have some really good like top results to win. And the really cool thing is now that there's going to be some other people who've never even been considered in contention, who are legitimately fantastic sailors, who will have a solid chance. They're still going to have to go and do.
Let's do a rundown of the wild card world title shots.
Well, look at Camille, for example. Camille got 3rd in Cabo Verde this year. He got 1st in Fiji and 2nd in Maui. He pretty much would have won.
Japan. He goes to Japan, gets top 4, maybe.
Could have totally won. Bernd had some personal things this year, but he won Cabo Verde. He only didn't do that good in, I think he got 5th in Fiji, but he's another person who could do really well in Fiji. Maui, this year Maui was kind of an anomaly because they only had 5 days, so the conditions, it's like they had to run in crap conditions, but he could win Maui. There's, CC Byrne is someone would have a chance. Like Brasilio still totally has a chance because he's amazing in those conditions. Like Ricardo,
I think the top guys, let's say the top guys of the last 10 years, they're still in there. Like,
totally, Tomar, I'd say it gives Tomar a better chance now because his probably worst thing is the port tack onshore jumping, but he's really good in the wave riding stuff. So that's exciting for Thomas. Victor is amazing.
Victor is still there, and even Philip, like you can
Philip
say,
is
like,
amazing. Philip's a sick port tack wave rider, sick port tack wave rider, and he's decent on starboard tack waves. I know he's never shown himself in competition so much. I don't know why, because I've seen him ripping at Hookkeeper, really ripping. But, whatever, nerves and pressure, maybe that's what happened. But when there's more events, there's going to be less pressure and less nerves, and I think people are going to sail better too.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So I'd say Camille is a really, somebody that's probably been under the radar. Bern is somebody. Jake Shetui is a guy who is really talented and sick on starboard tack wave riding. He got 4th in the Aloha here this year. He's good at jumping on starboard tack too, so he could do okay in Japan too. Different people, all the Japanese kids, all three of them. Well,
they're good.
Very good and very good all around. So, it's exciting. It's cool.
Yeah. So you went to Fiji first time last year?
That was my first time. Yeah. I loved it. It was awesome. Yeah. I mean, we were lucky with the conditions. I think.
For me, it's like top of the bucket list. Well, how would you give me your top 5 waves for windsurfing?
Well, that's like, I think the best one that I've been to, Cabo Verde as well, but on the other tack. They're my top two that I've ever been to. Hookkeeper on like a really, really, really rare good day is up there with Cabo Verde, but it's probably 10 times a year that happens. Jaws is my probably number 1 favorite one, actually, because let's see. And then I've never been to Western Java, but that wave looks amazing. I'd like to go there.
The one they filmed I
think there's a couple of waves there. I don't know exactly what the names of them are, but One Eye looks pretty fun too. I've never been to One Eye, but One Eye looks like kind of a bit more like it. I like waves that are a bit not quite so fast and hollow. I think like Fiji was cool because it was a good speed. Fiji was like you had this like kind of like fast hollow section, but it wasn't like they were too long, so you could air and get over it. And then it was steep, but it wasn't running away from you, so you could actually like do turns. Like depended on which wave you took, obviously. But it wasn't like sometimes in Cabo Verde, well, at least like Alibaba, those places I find like you're racing away from the wave a lot. Yeah. Ponta Preta is good like that if the wind's not too offshore, that you can actually turn and finish your turn and keep going. That's what I like best.
If it needs to be big, Ponta Preta, right? To have.
Yeah, it needs to be big, but the wind needs to be not too offshore as well. Yeah, but yeah, Fiji, the days that we sailed there, one warm-up day that was incredible. We didn't even compete on that day. It was unbelievably amazing. Then the day that we did the semi-finals was one of the best days of sailing that I've had. It was just fantastic. And then the day that we did the finals kind of sucked, which is annoying. But out of the 10 days that I was there, I think I surfed or windsurfed 8 days, and it was all good, really good.
So what's your bucket list then? Still to visit?
Well, that I haven't been to. I'd like to go to Namibia, to Skeleton Bay. That looked really fun. Those guys did that, and then
it's fast too, though. Very, very offshore and very.
Well,
fast.
I mean, I think it depends. When they were there, it looked pretty good. When Leon and Thomas and Flo were there, it didn't look too fast. It looked like it was pretty good. And then also, all those waves in Indonesia that I've never been to, I'd like to go try. Western Java and all that kind of stuff. But I definitely want to go back to Fiji.
Being in Maui, it limits that kind of traveling a little bit. Those strike missions, I mean, it's pretty,
it's expensive to leave from here to go anywhere. And also it's pretty good here. So you don't really need to leave that much. So maybe a little bit makes you less inclined to spend a whole ton of money to go and do something that's quite similar to what you just do at home anyway. But I know competing on tour, like if I stopped competing and traveling around like to all the events, then I would definitely start thinking about doing some of those other things instead, which I probably do at some point in my life in a few years' time anyway.
Yeah. How long you reckon you got left?
I don't know. Well, if this tour thing, now I'm super into it again. I mean, I'm keen to like compete again. Like now that it's all, there's a bunch of good events and in good places. Yeah, I like competing. It's fun. I like having a reason to train and stay in shape and like that.
Yeah.
We'll
explain to somebody. We kind of touched on this a little bit, but like let's put you under the microscope a little bit. Explain me like the difference between a sick wave sailor and a world champion. Like, I mean, you kind of like, you have all the moves and you've done them in heats. It's not like you had some sick high scoring heats, whatever. You do them consistently in training. You know how to compete. You actually, like, they called you, like, you know, that you fill in the score sheet really well, like a contest guy and whatever before.
I actually think I don't fill in the score sheet really well.
Yeah.
That's my, yeah.
And there is a slight difference. Like, you can be, you know, I don't know, sometimes it's just not on, like, I don't know, you start a heat wrong or what. I don't know. What is it?
I think there's a mental thing
on it.
For me. Like, I try and quantify all the time because it's me that I think about and trying to think how to get rid of that little thing of, like, you know, sometimes I just, you know, normal would be just to do a good heat and I'll do it. But then sometimes I just completely stuck in some heats and it's weird. And you see people like Victor, for example, I think is one of the best examples of someone that you might see him start the heat bad and then he somehow just sails that wind, turns around and resets. And then he's like, even Philip, I've seen him do that. Like, there's something in the mind. But I think it's also something to do with confidence, you know, like, you've got to be so confident in yourself. Like, I saw Brauzinho for so many years being so good that you think, like, how can he possibly not win? But he wasn't completely confident in his own ability and in port tack. And now he is. And now suddenly he's a different sailor in the water. You know what I mean? And I think I have that thing too. Like, I know I can do everything and I can, but like, if it's a little bit too windy or a little bit, you know, if I'm too overpowered, that's what happens to me a lot. Like in Zilt, like, I sailed my first heat really, really well against Miguel. And then it was a tiny bit windy against Leo and I was a little bit too overpowered and I just couldn't land a double, which is normally so easy for me. And I think that the confidence to know that you can do stuff even when you're like super overpowered, like Ricardo, Victor, Philip, Brauzinho, those guys, they can be like ridiculously overpowered and they can still do their stuff.
Yeah, but then for Ricardo, underpowered is hard, right? But
he doesn't ever do that. You know, it's easier to he just goes super overpowered. Yeah, underpowered, he has that. Ricky's the one out of those guys that has, like, sometimes some bad hits, you know, really bad ones too. The other guys, it's pretty rare to see them, you know. But I in my opinion, it is a mental sort of toughness, but I think that comes from confidence of knowing that you definitely know what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and that you can do it. You know what I mean? I know I can do it. I mean,
out of 20, that shouldn't, on paper, that shouldn't be an issue. Out of 20 years on tour, you probably finished top 10, like, I don't know, 18 times, 20 times, 19 times, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, you know? but if you ask me before my heat, if the conditions are absolutely perfect, I'll pretty much tell you I will go out and fill my score sheet, yes. And then I'll be pretty confident that I can beat most people. But then if it's slightly too windy, like in Gran Canaria happens so many times, I just completely flatten them on 3-3, like super overpowered and I'm scared, then I can tell you there's about a 50% chance of me doing all the stuff that I'm supposed to do. And that's different.
Yeah, but it's the same for the other guy too, right?
Maybe not. Like, some people, they're like, also, you know, sometimes people don't have, like, for example, my goal is to do a double forward, a push forward, and you know, shack on the wave and a tack on the wave. And some people don't do those things. Their goal is to do a really high stall forward, a really high back loop. And so I don't have that in my mindset of that's what I might do. So I might just go and crash 10 doubles because I can't do them because I'm too overpowered. Whereas someone who has that mindset of I'm just going to do a super high forward and a super high back loop and then do my wave rides might end up doing better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of a percentages game. And that's a lot of times when I lose, it's something really close. And it's something like this year against Marinito, I actually injured my lat. I could hardly sail, but I did a double on my first run and it was kind of clean, but it was small. But he just did and then it got super windy, so I couldn't try a higher one. And then he just did a giant stall forward, which was his game plan. He had a different game plan, and then he got through that heat. You know, so in the moment, it's kind of hard. But if you can have your solid,
but then you
heat,
can't be. If you executed your game plan and it wasn't enough, then it's fine, right?
Yeah, but the game plan was not to do like a little small double. The game plan was to do a good one, but I couldn't because I was too overpowered. But like if you put Ricky in that situation, he would have gone from doing a normal double to a stalled double because he has that in his repertoire, and that's what he goes to when he's overpowered. So that's the thing. He's got the confidence and the knowledge that he can do those things. So, I mean, I just think it's practice and confidence.
Well,
hard things to practice. You know, you've been trying to learn those things, like trying to learn to do stored doubles when you're too overpowered to do a normal double is a pretty scary thing. You know, not many people.
No, that's why I ask you so much about this fear factor, because I think it's kind of underspoken or under. I'm
maybe too scared myself. I mean, I'm 38 now. I think I didn't used to be that scared. I was a bit more sort of go for broke. But I have also
scary, man. Those things are fucking scary.
They are scary. And when you're overpowered and out of control is when it's the scariest. And that's the time when you need to do those stored doubles and things like that. No, I'm not really scared of doing a push forward. If it's a big steep ramp and I'm overpowered, I'm not actually scared of that, but I am scared to do a stored double. And a lot of times in Pozo, it's not a big steep ramp. It's a little tiny chop, but you're really overpowered. So a double forward is really, really, really hard, but a stored double might be easier. And then in that case, you've got to have practiced a lot of them and it's hard. It's scary. Yeah. That's why I'm happy that there's going to be some other events with waves that are counting more, because it's more fun to practice that, like, doing goiters and 360s and stuff. It's not quite as scary. It's much more,
I don't know, hitting like a thick mast and a half lip is pretty scary too. Can be.
Yeah, but it's the practicing towards that is a much gentler progression, I'd say. Like building yourself up to hitting those kind of lips is a lot more fun and a lot gentler than building yourself up to do double forwards on a 3-3 and 50 knots.
Speaking of being overpowered, the storm chains should be back on this winter. Are you in the fold? Is there? I
was fourth the last time that we did the storm chase. They said they were going to take the top four for sure, but I don't know if they've changed their mind now because it's been so many years.
Yeah.
But that last one in Ireland, I supposedly qualified for the next one. So. But they haven't written anything to me, so maybe they're not. I don't know.
No,
I haven't heard about it.
I didn't see anything official. I just know it's on from Pro.
I mean, I hope that.
I guess I shouldn't really say, should I?
I heard that it was on too, but I didn't hear anything from them. So I don't know. Maybe it's not like I liked it on the times that I did it, but it's not my favorite thing to do, sailing freezing cold with super, super, super overpowered conditions. If they do it and they want to invite me, I'll go, because it's good to be part of those kind of things. But I'd rather they do like a big wave thing in a sick wave. That would be more my style.
Yeah.
Fiji or Jaws or something cool like that. I'd rather do that.
Chopu doesn't look very inviting.
I really like Chopu as much. Chopu's more, I have sailed there and it's okay, but it's a little bit, it's more of a surfing wave. It's a sick wave for surfing, getting barrel, but that's not really what you want for windsurfing. Jaws is much more, it's a steep wave that you can do a couple of nice turns on, but it's not like you only can get barreled. You see the guys doing turns at Jaws too. Like on Chopu, it's only getting barreled. It's a really long barrel. So you're going to hit that lip and do an air and maybe make it, or you're going to go out on the shoulder in front of it and do some half turns. It's not my, I did say have fun sailing there. It was exciting and scary, but it wasn't what I would say would be the ideal windsurf wave.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, let's talk business. How, after 25 years with the same brands, finishing basically, at least top 10 every year, you got a family of 4 to support. Times are slim. You're kind of, I don't know, you're kind of a house name with the brands you're on. How does a contract negotiation like that look? Asking for a friend again. I have had a contract for a few years, so I'm not sure. I haven't done one for a couple of years, but it's always difficult, like I see it from both sides and I don't know. I've had my ups and downs. Actually, now with the new Neil Pride owners and the new management, it's actually a nicer environment to work in. It's been had teething problems in the beginning, obviously, because it was so much to take over, but now it's a much smaller company structure. So you kind of know all the people that you're talking to. It's not someone in Hong Kong that you've never seen and whatever. So it's different like that, but still, I understand it because we have a couple of businesses that we run, and in the end of the day,
have money that you can spend on this thing, or you don't. And then if you don't, you don't. And there's, as much as you might like to keep supporting someone you've been supporting, or to support someone new, it might just not physically be possible. So I do understand it from both sides. And yeah, I don't really look forward to when I have to renegotiate my things, but then at the same time,
yeah, because it's like you would think after 25 years with a brand, it would get, okay, it's new management, so it's a little bit different, but
well, it's been the same management now for like 5 years.
But at the same time, it's almost like you're kind of taken for granted in a way because you've been there for such a long time and whatever, right?
I don't know. I mean, I've always been able to keep somewhat steady. I've got more work now, much more work than I used to do in the past. I used to just windsurf, basically the same, and now I kind of get the same, but I do a lot more work. So it's kind of naturally evolved, and I feel, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm much more valuable to them now than I ever have been. So I'm pretty sure that they see that, and I'm pretty sure it's, you know, it's a mutual feeling. But I don't know. Yeah, I can't tell you it's going to be easy or not. I don't know. But I mean, I like working with the guys that I talk to every day there now, and hopefully they like working with me. So hopefully it keeps on going. Yeah, it's a nice job.
Would you like to go on the other side one day, like stay in the business and manage?
I mean, I'm kind of sort of stepping between the two sides now. You know, I kind of help with the wave team, managing the wave team, and helping them get the stuff that they need as far as I can. You know, sometimes it's physically impossible, you know, but I'm sort of stepping over to that side now. I like marketing side. I make the website for Neil Pride, and I help them with ideas and stuff, and help them coordinate the photo shoot and stuff. And I enjoy doing all that stuff. I like to be sort of creative and try and get good shots and get good video. That's one of my passions, actually. And I really like developing good new gear. So those things I'm already doing, which I think is probably equally as valuable, or maybe more than what I do windsurfing, even though it's difficult to get to be able to, you know, windsurfing a level where you can come in the top 10. That's probably harder, but then like the amount of work that gets done on a weekly basis is much more the marketing work that I do. So yeah, it's nice. I mean, it's good. Both things serve a purpose, because I like to be able to windsurf and have the newest, latest gear and make sure it's good. And then shiny I also like to be able to pay for, you know, feeding my children and being able to go to the events and stuff. So yeah.
Okay, so it's the first episode of the new season, let's call it, of the Windsurfing podcast, and I've always done these quickfire questions at the end. I don't know where I'm going with this. I didn't really like think of it, so I'll just ask you a few and let you go.
Mm-hmm.
What are your pet peeves, Robby?
Pet peeves. One of my major pet peeves is too many people in the water. It's not enjoyable to sail when there's too many people in the water, and people being disrespectful of other people's space and what other people are doing in the water. For example, people stealing people's waves, or people not wanting people to go windsurfing because they're surfing, or people going tow surfing through the middle of the windsurfers. Those kind of things.
Who's the worst tackle keeper?
There's not really anyone who's the worst, I don't think. Name a shame. Titoon versus Ricardo. Titoon, Burn, and Ricardo all in the same wave. That'd be fun.
I just saw this clip the other day. I was laughing my ass off when Burned and Ricardo are on one wave, and Burn basically does a backside shove it, and literally almost cuts Ricardo with his fins. Yeah, and then they just start riding funny. None of them basically made the wave or whatever. It was hilarious. I was I wonder who was the furthest out.
well, I think I heard from Ricky, or I heard from Brow, that Ricky said that maybe it might have actually been Burns' wave. So I'm pretty sure it was Burns' wave. If Ricky has a doubt, then it's probably someone else's wave.
Oh, that's just classic.
Yeah, I think everywhere that we go, there's normally some kind of incident with Ricardo somewhere. So I'd say you could probably maybe put him in that snake box. At least he's not going to like it.
Yeah, but he doesn't affect him. If somebody does this to me 3 times, my session is, I get so pissed.
No, I don't think he'll let you do that to him 3 times, because he'll have told you already on the first time pretty clearly what he thought about it. So then,
but if he drops in on me like twice in a row or whatever, like I don't care who you are, it's like if you're acting like a dick, it's gonna. But then I get angry and it affects me, And
most people are pretty respectful. The annoying thing at Hookkeeper is sometimes people don't understand or don't know what the rules are, and then the other thing is, it's not really anyone's fault, but like, people go on the wave before, they'll fall in and then they're in the way in the water, and then someone coming out trying to jump, and it's just like too many people in the water. It's annoying, because you go out the back, you wait for your wave, you actually get one wave, you come in, and then the guy in the wave in front fell trying to do a goiter, so right where you're going to turn is him in the water, but there's also someone trying to paddle out surfing and shouting at you because they want you not to be there at all, and it's just that hecticness makes me not enjoy my sessions. That's definitely a pet peeve of mine. I'd like much rather sail with just a few friends.
Yeah. How many times a day do you pee your wetsuit?
I try not to pee my wetsuit. I wear shorties, so I like pull it up and pee out of the wetsuit. But if I have to, if I'm in Chile or whatever, pretty much I don't. I pretty much pee before I go out. I really hate peeing in my wetsuit.
Robbie, there is 2 types of windsurfers, right? The ones that pee their wetsuits and the ones that lie about it. So
yeah, no, I very, 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 very rarely pee in my wetsuit. I pull the wetsuit up because I'm wearing a shorty and I pee. I don't actually pee in it.
The top 5 windsurfers of all time.
I'd say Brow, Ricardo, Philip, Jason, and Victor.
Okay, that was easy. Most underrated windsurfer of all time.
Most underrated windsurfer of all time. Who's underrated? That's a good question. I don't know. I kind of rate a lot of people who. I guess people don't really see Kami as a major threat, or people don't see him as one of those very top guys. But I think he is. He's a competitive machine, and he's a really amazing sailor. So could call it Kami, even though he's probably not that underrated. But
yeah,
I feel that people underrate him. Maybe.
Your worst excess baggage bill?
I think it was this last one to Fiji, or the worst individual one. I paid $175 from Maui to Honolulu, and then $1,600, something like that, from Honolulu to Fiji for 3 bags. I thought that was pretty bad. Actually, going to France the time I went to France, that fated trip to France where we didn't even unpack our bags, I paid $500 at check-in with United, and then I paid $1,920 with FedEx for the one last bag that United refused to take. That was actually worse, and I didn't go windsurfing.
That's definitely worse.
Fiji was better because I did go windsurfing.
Yeah, your best check-in story though, like a best skizzle / scam /
skizzle / there's been so many of them. Of me personally, I mean, the times that I've checked in Fuerteventura after I've like done well in the event there, and the guys have been there to see, has always been, I think I've checked in there with 13 bags, probably 10 times for free, all the way back to Maui. I'd say they'd be pretty good. I mean, actually, there's also, leaving Cabo Verde, I want to say that I had 27 bags because a bunch of people gave them to me, and we paid maybe like $2,000, something like that. And then got to San Francisco, had to recheck the bags, but the bags didn't arrive in San Francisco, so just went to a hotel, and then came back to Maui, and then there was no bags, so I just did the claim, and they delivered all the bags with a van to my house. That was 27 bags over the space of about a month it took to get them all back. Unfortunately, my waveboard bag was literally the last bag to come back one whole month later, and it only came because Josh Angulo saw it lying on the runway in Cabo Verde and made them put it on the plane after a month. But that was a good skill. I just wish it would have been like Ricardo's bag that'd stayed there instead of mine.
Is there like a non-signed argument that if you're like in Maui, if you live there and stuff, and like you're going back there and somebody else is going to Brazil or Venezuela, not to name names, you have to take their bags back?
There is I kind of started just to say no now, because But there's even like the option of maybe just like someone staying for 2 days in Miami on the way home and they still need you to take all their bags back. Yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah. I always go straight home, so people try and get me to take the bags, but I've got a pretty blanket no response now to that.
Yeah,
because it's annoying, especially when people give you bags that instead of being 32 kilos are like 49 kilos, and then you have to repack their bags and try and find different bags to put their bags in because they don't have enough bags. That's a particularly annoying thing to do at like 4 o'clock in the morning in the airport in France.
Who's your worst competitor?
That sailing against me, they normally beat me.
Yeah,
Ricardo.
Oh.
Ricardo in the Canaries is just like, I think it's been a very one-sided affair with him and me in the Canaries. In other places, I've beaten him.
It's been a pretty long affair too.
Yeah, like in freestyle, was a bit more even, but in waves, I think I'm not sure if I've beaten him in a wave heat in Gran Canaria. So, yeah. In other places I have, but I know when I get here in Gran Canaria, it's pretty tough. I think actually Philip's been pretty bad for everybody in the Canaries, but I've had a few really, really good heats against Philip and I've lost them all. So, yeah.
You get $1 million in cash, you need to spend it in 24 hours. What do you get?
House or Maui and rent it. Easy.
You think
Boom.
You can buy it in 24 hours, a house?
I will definitely get a house in 24 hours, yeah. Yeah, you could, for sure. There you go. See, it's a smart, prudent thing to do with it, isn't it? What would you spend it on?
I don't know. Probably like 500 grand on property or investment. Like now you get, in Poland, you get bonds for like inflation plus 2%, and like inflation is 18%. So you get 20% return a year.
Yeah.
And the other 500 grand I just spend on toys and travels and
yeah. See, I just want to have a steady income so I can have toys and travels forever instead of just 500 grand worth of toys and travel. Yeah.
Well, 500 grand on toys and travel is quite a bit.
It's gonna probably last you a couple of years. You don't have 3 people to take with you though.
Yeah. Well, not yet.
Just one.
At least. Yeah.
Not yet. No.
Yeah. Last but not least, who would you invite on this show if you were me?
Who would I invite on this show? I'm not sure everybody who you've done already, but who would I like to hear from? I'd like to hear from Bernd Rodiger.
That just doesn't hold back.
I'd just like to hear Bernd Rodiger's side of a lot of stories because I like it. I've followed him on social media and stuff, and I know him here from Maui, and I think there's a bunch of interesting things that you might be able to talk to him about.
Yeah, let's set it up. I'll call you before, dig some dirt.
Yeah. Oh dear. Then I'll get in trouble. I'm not going to give you anything. I'll give you some numbers of people you can call to get some dirt.
I might have some of those numbers already.
How about that?
Right on. Thank you, Robby.
Cool magic.
I'll be seeing you soon on one of our bit more.
Yeah. I can see some messages here I have to respond about that already. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Right on. Cool. Take care. Enjoy your jumping day, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah, will do.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon.
See you around. Cheers, Robby.
Have a good one. Bye.
There we go. Great podcast from Robby there. Really interesting character. Like I say, he's been around the block and he's done lots of different things. And interesting to see still sponsored by JP Neal Pride after all those years. Hope you enjoyed that podcast. I'm glad we're back. Yes, we have had a break, but from now on, every Wednesday, whether it's a live with me or it's Matt Check and a pre-recorded one like we just saw with Robby Swift, we've already got a few in the bank, but who do you want to see on the podcast? Who do you want to see live? Do you want to see people outside the industry? Maybe some more amateur stuff, or some the shops, or maybe even the water sports nomad who we've talked on. I was thinking that would be an interesting one of how you get into maybe being a windsurfing instructor and how that route goes. There's a lot of interesting podcasts out there, but I'd love to hear from you. Stick it in the comments below. If you did like the podcast, give us a thumbs up, and if you want to chip in some beer money, it would be truly appreciated. Thank you very much. Stay tuned to the channel and we'll see you on Sunday for Send It Sunday.